They thought it was just another snap, but then the messages got darker. What started as a harmless snap became a real-life nightmare. This is where the story begins. I still remember the way the forest went silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The kind that presses on your chest. The kind that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. It was the kind of silence that only happens when something or someone is watching. It was supposed to be a simple camping trip. A weekend to reconnect with my little sister Marissa before she headed into high school. She asked me to come along to help her and her 3 best friends. Hannah, Zoe, and Kylie set up camp at Crater Lake. They were only 14, obsessed with selfies, hiking playlists, and Snapchat streaks. I was 32, a little overworked, and ready to finally unplug for a few days. It sounded like a wholesome, easy win. It wasn't. What happened that night still wakes me up sometimes. Not because of what I saw, but because of what could have happened if I had been even a few seconds too late. We arrived that Friday afternoon. The sun was warm, the trees were tall, and the girls couldn't stop laughing as they unloaded their bags. They called it a digital detox. But 5 minutes into setting up, they were already turning it into a game. Snapchat scavenger hunt in the woods. Take a picture of the coolest tree, the creepiest shadow, the first squirrel. It was innocent and honestly kind of sweet. I let them have their fun while I focused on building the fire pit and setting up my own tent a short distance away from theirs. After dinner, they crawled into their sleeping bags, giggling over the photos they'd taken and trying to top each other's snap scores. I sat in my own tent, reading under a lantern. That's when I heard it, Zoe's voice. Wait, who just added me? Then came the usual chatter. What's the score? Is it someone we know? No Bitmoji? That's weird. They didn't sound scared? Not yet, just curious. A random account with a 3-point snap score had added Zoe. The girls dared her to send something ridiculous back, just a silly selfie of all of them making monster faces. Something to laugh about. But what they got back was something else entirely. Zoe screamed. It wasn't playful. It was sharp and sudden, like a switch had flipped. I dropped my book and rushed out, rifle in hand. The 3 girls were crying, and Marissa's voice cracked as she shouted my name. He's here. Eric, he's outside. I burst into their tent, and they shoved the phone in my face. It wasn't a photo this time. It was a video, a short, grainy clip. It started with the outline of their tent. But the camera was moving, shaky, like someone was walking closer. At the end, a face appeared. Just for a second, a pale man, grinning, standing right outside, not 20 feet from where I had been reading. No flashlight, no footsteps, just that grin. I ran outside and fired 2 warning shots into the air, yelling into the darkness. Nothing moved, no sound, just trees and black. We all slept in the same tent that night, huddled together like kids. Nobody slept much. I lay awake, rifle across my chest, listening for the sound of footsteps on leaves. But it never came. At sunrise, we packed everything. No breakfast, no goodbyes to the lake. We drove away in silence. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't heard Zoe's scream, or if the person behind that camera had stepped closer. Sometimes I wonder if he was waiting for us to fall asleep. If stories like this pull you in, and you want more real-life horror just like it, subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support us and make sure these stories keep coming. You never know which one might remind you of a moment in your own life. And now, here's a question for you. If you were in my position that night, what would you have done? A. Stay calm, keep watch, and protect the girls like I did. B. Pack up immediately and leave in the middle of the night, no matter how dangerous the forest was. Drop your answer in the comments, A or B. I'll be reading. When you live in a high-rise in downtown Chicago, you get used to the background noise of city life, the endless traffic hum, muffled voices through the walls, and the occasional elevator ding that reminds you you're never really alone. I used to find comfort in that. Now, I'm not so sure. My name is Leah. I'm 28, and I run a small but growing fitness coaching business. Most of my content is online, and yes, that means I live on social media. Snapchat had always just been a fun way to engage with clients, post motivational videos, and share behind-the-scenes clips from my workouts. Until the day it stopped feeling fun. That Thursday started like any other. I filmed a new bodyweight series in my apartment studio. Took a quick mirror snap, sweaty smiling, captioned with something cheesy like, "No excuses," and threw it up on my Snap story. A few minutes later, I got a message from my best friend Jesse's account. At first, it seemed normal. "You're killing it today," followed by, "Where are you now?" I smiled. That was Jesse, always hyping me up. I snapped back, "At home. You know, my usual post-leg day crash zone." Then came a reply that stopped me cold. "What's your address again?" I stared at the screen for a long moment. Jessie already knew where I lived. She'd been to my apartment dozens of times. Something about that question felt off. I typed, then deleted, typed again. Eventually, I just called her. No answer. Then a text came in, but not from Jessie. It was her mom. "Leah, I was going to let you know, Jessie lost her phone yesterday. We think someone took it while she was out." My chest tightened. That meant whoever was messaging me wasn't Jessie. They had access to her account, her contacts, and my snaps. And I had just told them I was home. Alone. I locked my phone and immediately got up. Curtains? Shut. Doors? Checked twice. I muted every sound and stood in the middle of my living room, listening. Nothing. But that quiet no longer felt like safety. It felt like being stalked. I reopened Snapchat, my fingers trembling. I switched to the Snap map and zoomed in on Jessie's Bitmoji. It was sitting directly on top of mine, at my apartment. I think my heart stopped for a moment. My mind raced. Could it be a GPS glitch? A delay? Or had they really found me? I hadn't posted the name of my building. I hadn't tagged the location. But somehow they were here. I called the front desk. No one unusual had signed in. I checked the hallway. Empty. I even knocked on the stairwell door just to be sure. Still nothing. That night, I didn't sleep. I left the lights on in every room, sat curled up on the couch, a kitchen knife on the coffee table. Paranoia is loud when everything else is quiet. Every creak, every car horn, every buzz from my phone made me jump. The next morning, as I left my apartment for the gym, I saw something wedged between the mailboxes on the second floor landing. Jessie's phone. Still on. Still unlocked. Still showing the last snap sent from her account. My post-workout photo from the day before. I turned it in to the police, but I knew they couldn't do much. No fingerprints, no cameras in that hallway, no suspect, just a borrowed identity and a perfectly placed Bitmoji. To this day, I don't know if the person was ever in my building. I don't know if they were bluffing, but what I do know is that they watched me. Not through a window, not through a peephole, through the apps I invited into my life every day. After that, I turned off SnapMap permanently. My stories are private now. And if you think this kind of thing can't happen to you, well, neither did I. There's an unspoken rule in most gyms. You don't interrupt someone mid-set. You don't stare. You don't overstep. It's a sanctuary, a place where people push themselves physically, mentally, and expect a degree of personal space and mutual respect. That's why what happened to me in Austin still makes my skin crawl. Because my sanctuary became a trap, and the person I should have ignored was already far too close by the time I realized it. My name is Mark. I'm 35, work in IT, and I treat the gym like therapy. After hours spent troubleshooting networks and staring at code, getting under a barbell is how I hit reset. I've been going to the same neighborhood gym in Austin for over 2 years. I knew most of the regulars by face, some by name. It was a small, respectful community until Derek showed up. He was young, maybe 18 or 19, skinny and awkward, in that way teenagers sometimes are when they're still growing into their bodies. The first time I saw him, I assumed he was just another kid trying to bulk up. But it didn't take long to notice something was off. He never lifted much. He just lingered, hovering around me specifically. Always on the same machines I used, always a few feet too close. At first, I brushed it off. I gave him a nod when our eyes met, then put my headphones back in and focused on my reps. But one day, while I was finishing a set of squats, I noticed him standing directly behind me, not spotting, just watching. When I paused between sets, he finally spoke. "Hey, you look super familiar. You from around here?" I gave a polite smile, tried to shake it off. "Yeah, local. Been coming here for a while." He kept talking. Too much. Rambling about workouts, supplements, random TV shows. I tried to ease out of the conversation, even mentioned I was on a tight schedule. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "You on Snapchat?" I should have said no. I really should have. But in the moment, I didn't want to be rude. So I gave him my handle, thinking he'd forget or never use it. That night, I got a snap from someone named Derek. His face filled the screen, way too close to the camera, head tilted sideways on his hand like he was posing for a yearbook photo, except the smile wasn't friendly. It was deliberate, calculated. The text simply read, "Hey." I didn't respond. I removed him immediately. Less than 5 minutes later, another notification popped up, a message from a new account. I knew it was him. I didn't want to open it, but curiosity got the better of me. The snap was a video. It showed me leaving the gym earlier that night. My car, me unlocking the door. No words, just the sound of him breathing behind the camera. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just social awkwardness. This was something darker. The next day, I told the staff. They said they'd talk to him, maybe suspend his membership. I thought that would be the end of it. But Derek showed up to the weekend boot camp I helped coach, claiming he wanted to get serious about fitness. I didn't buy it. I told him to leave. He didn't argue, just smiled and walked off like it was a game. That night, I got one final snap. It was a photo of my apartment building, taken from the street, my windows clearly visible. The caption said, "You home?" I froze. I didn't go to the window. I didn't open the blinds. I called the police. When they came, I showed them everything, screenshots, messages, video. They took it seriously. Turns out Derek had been reported before for stalking behavior, but never caught red-handed. This time, he was flagged. I filed a report, installed security cameras, changed my gym schedule, changed my routes. I even considered moving. There's a fine line between being kind and being naive, and sometimes all it takes is one small act of politeness to invite something sinister into your life. Now, I don't give out my socials. I keep my distance. And when someone starts asking questions that feel too personal, I don't just walk away. I run. In all three stories, what started as innocent moments, camping with family, sharing a fitness update, and meeting someone at the gym, spiraled into chilling encounters with strangers who use technology as their weapon. For Eric, Leah, and Mark, Snapchat wasn't just a social tool. It became the gateway to fear, violation, and obsession. Each of them learned that danger doesn't always knock loudly. It sometimes creeps in quietly through a friend request, a Bitmoji on a map, or a smiling photo taken from the shadows. The lesson here is both unsettling and urgent. Protect your digital boundaries as fiercely as you do your physical ones. In an age where our lives are increasingly online, even the smallest detail, like your location on SnapMap or a casual reply to a stranger, can expose you more than you realize. Be mindful of who you let into your virtual world. Turn off location sharing when it's not necessary. Lock down your privacy settings. And most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Now, here's a quick question to test how well you've been paying attention. Which story involved a Snapchat video of someone walking toward a tent at night? A. Leah in Chicago. B. Eric at Crater Lake. Drop your answer in the comments below. A or B? I'll be watching to see who's really locked in. And I want to know, have you ever experienced something creepy through social media? Or have a story where a simple app crossed into real life in a disturbing way? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's build a space where people can talk, relate, and stay safe together. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more stories like these, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us keep sharing true tales that entertain, inform, and sometimes remind us to double-check the lock on the door.